What I want to talk to you about, just last thing, yesterday I couldn't get to it, about the China threat and this coronavirus. I got to tell you that I'm very leery of people predicting epidemics and pandemics and all sorts of scary things. I'm very leery about it because I think that even, and we've done shows, I can't remember the topic, but years ago did shows about how the CDC, for example, makes predictions about diseases spreading and the danger of diseases and what's coming, and the CDC benefits from, and all these public health officials benefit from, spreading alarm. Spreading alarm. They will say, we don't want to spread alarm, but, and then they make very scary prognostications. And I think they do it, perhaps you can say the good motive, abundance of caution, have people aware, have people alert, have people, wash your hands, don't share, straws, don't share, but just to be careful, kind of hygiene kind of things. That's a good mission they have. But I also think the CDC gets funding, they get credibility, they get authority when they take the argument about how dangerous something is, how big the danger is to America, what the epidemic potential is, take it to the max. And they have done that. And I feel like with all these kind of things, I have to place that caution. I think there's always some concern about doing that. But having said that, I want to mention just a couple things about this coronavirus we've all been hearing about, because there is a lot of concern and it should not be dismissed lightly. Okay, so the town in China where this seems to have emerged is a town called Wuhan, W-U-H-A-N, Wuhan. In the town of Wuhan, China, there are two laboratories controlled by the Communist Chinese government that are linked to their development of biological warfare. I just want to plant that seed for you, that everyone's been thinking this is just some virus like a bad flu virus. But there is some concern among informed people, some potential concern that this may have been something that was being developed intentionally in these biowarfare facilities, two of them in this town of Wuhan. It's a covert biological weapons program, and this was actually testified to by an Israeli biological warfare expert who talked about it, and also went back to a Wuhan 2015 television report that in China, in this town of Wuhan, there's the most advanced research laboratory, most advanced virus research laboratory, known as the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So there's some concern. This was developed intentionally, maybe not released intentionally, but developed intentionally. And here's a danger. I really want to turn to the political aspect of all of this. We're dealing with the Chinese Communist government. Very secretive, always their people don't know what's going on. The world never knows what's going on. And it reminds some people, there was a big write-up about this in the Washington Times. In fact, I'll quickly mention, anything I talk about in my show, you can go read the articles yourself. If you go to my website, americacanwetalk.org, on the homepage, under shows, drop down list of links, and you'll find these articles linked. There was concern that maybe what happened in this town of Wuhan, that is this top secret biowarfare, covert biological weapons program research facility, maybe what came out, maybe this coronavirus came from that. So you're dealing with a secretive government. Reminds a lot of people about Chernobyl. If you remember what happened in Chernobyl in Russia, we had that 2016 release of the dangerous, no, it was earlier than 2016, but whenever it was, point is, Chernobyl happened where you had a leak at a nuclear facility. And the Chernobyl leak was not acknowledged by the government it was like 10 days. In fact, they didn't acknowledge it at all until in Sweden. I was just reading this again. The country of Sweden has a nuclear facility where after Chernobyl happened in Sweden, some guy's working at the nuclear facility, and you have to, when you work there, you go through a kind of like you do at the airport, you go through something, but it's detecting any radiation, and the thing went off. And this for this worker going to the Sweden nuclear power plant. And they're thinking, what the heck was that? So, he I'm sorry, Chernobyl was many years ago. Thank you. 1986. So sorry, 1986. But same point. The idea of this was Sweden was the one that finally at their own nuclear facility plant realized worker after worker after worker is coming through the detection facility and recognizing everyone's got some radiation, what's going on. And that's when finally the country of Russia admitted that Chernobyl had happened. So, and in Russia, right after the Chernobyl nuclear power accident and there were nuclear and dangerous release, because the country was so determined to convince people that there was nothing wrong, no danger here, they continued to permit. They had a parade of children planned in that town that day or the next few days, and they said, no, go ahead, everybody, it's fine, it's fine. These kids are out doing a parade in the town after this nuclear accident has happened because they don't want to admit the country is so secretive. So back to the coronavirus. This is one reason when people in America, high-level officials, people in policymaking in Washington say we have to be very, very, very careful with the country of China. They would not acknowledge to the world if this coronavirus came from these research labs. They would not acknowledge it. They would hide it. They will hide it as long as they can and maybe forever if they can get away with it. Other experts are saying, too, that the number of people, number of victims, China has announced a small number of victims have succumbed to it. People are now talking about the likelihood of the number of victims being probably 10 times higher than what they're admitting. I don't want to get off on the virus and the spreading of it that day, but I do want to say it's another example of what, among many things, I appreciate about the Trump administration. They are tough on China. They are trying to encourage America and other countries to recognize China is a danger to this world. China is a danger because they have a very highly controlled communist mindset. All of the releasing kind of relaxation of Chinese communist policies and the opening up of China and having more, free market type businesses, that's all getting reined back in. China is an extremely dangerous country. They have very obvious, stated, acknowledged determination to rule the world. They're a dangerous place. And in America, as we watch this coronavirus, keep an eye on it in America and whatever, all the cases and making sure that people have not been exposed to it. Understand, as tough as we have to be with China and dealing with this, we have to be that tough because I think they're a lot like Russia and Chernobyl back in 1986. They're not going to tell the truth about it if they possibly can, even though they recognize they may be wreaking havoc, releasing havoc on areas, on people all over the world. In fact, the other thing that happened, there was an announcement that before the country of China put down a travel restriction on people within Wuhan so they wouldn't leave, that already had thousands leave after this was released, or after this problem came up, and before they imposed their travel ban. So you have people wandering around with this exposure to whatever it is. And my point in this show is just political to say you got to be very tough on China.